My name is Liam Carter, and I still hear my father's words echoing in my head like a cruel ghost that refuses to fade. Pull the plug. We can't afford 2 kids. I was 16 when he said it, lying in the ICU beside my little sister Emily, both of us hooked to tubes and machines after the fire that tore through our house one winter night. The smell of smoke clung to everything, even my memories. The doctors said we were lucky to be alive, but luck has a strange meaning when your own father wishes only one of you had survived. I couldn't move much then. My lungs burned with every breath, and my body was wrapped in bandages like paper trying to hold itself together. But my ears worked just fine. I heard him talking to the doctor outside my room, his voice steady, practical, emotionless, as if he were discussing a broken car, not his children. Her chances are better, he said, meaning Emily. He's older. She's the one with a future. The doctor didn't answer, but the silence that followed felt like a verdict. From that day on, something inside me died, not my body, but the part that still believed in family. Weeks later, I woke up fully, only to find out Emily had survived too, though barely. Dad didn't visit much. He said work was keeping him busy. I later learned he'd sold the burned remains of our house and moved in with his new girlfriend. I recovered slowly, through pain and therapy, and when I was finally discharged, I wasn't taken home, because there was no home. Instead, I was dropped off at a rehabilitation center paid for by charity. He came once to sign papers, never once looking me in the eye. Emily, fragile and quiet, went to live with our aunt. We didn't see each other again for years. Time passed, and I grew up learning that strength wasn't about muscles, it was about surviving when no one wants you to. I studied hard, worked nights cleaning offices, and somehow made it to college on scholarships and sheer stubbornness. I carried those words, "We can't afford 2 kids," like fuel in my chest. Every rejection, every failure, every night I wanted to quit, I remembered that moment and refused to give my father the satisfaction of being right. 10 years later, I stood in front of a gleaming hospital building, not as a patient this time, but as Dr. Liam Carter, a trauma surgeon specializing in burn recovery. I'd spent years studying the very wounds that once almost took my life. The irony wasn't lost on me. My work gave me purpose, but a part of me always wondered about Emily. When I finally found her, she was 21, studying art in another city, still carrying scars both visible and invisible. We reunited awkwardly, cautiously, but when she hugged me, crying softly into my coat, it felt like a wound closing after years of bleeding. "He said you were gone," she whispered. I smiled sadly. He wanted me to be. A few months later, fate turned the tables. Our father was admitted to the same hospital where I worked. Heart failure, advanced and irreversible. He didn't recognize me at first when I walked into his room in my white coat. But when he read the name tag, color drained from his face. "Liam," he croaked, weakly reaching for me. For a long time, I just stood there, the monitor beeping softly in the background, watching the man who once decided I wasn't worth saving. Then I said calmly, "Funny how life works, Dad. You wanted to save money. Now you can't afford time." His eyes filled with tears, but I didn't feel anger anymore, just a deep, quiet sadness for what could have been. I made sure he received the best care possible, not out of love, but because I refused to let hate define me the way greed defined him. When he passed, I attended the funeral with Emily. We didn't cry. We'd mourned him years ago in that ICU. As we walked away from the grave, Emily took my hand and said, "He was wrong, you know. We both had futures." I looked at her, at the sister I'd nearly lost, and replied, "We always did. We just had to fight for them ourselves." And for the first time since that fire, I felt at peace, because the boy who wasn't worth saving had become the man who saved others every day.